The woods don't care if you're experienced. They care if you're alone. Welcome to episode 1 of Scary Deep Woods Horror Stories. Subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next episode. This happened to me in 2006. I took the Cascade Crest Trail solo in early October because I'd done it 6 times before, and I wanted 4 days where nothing could find me. The first night went exactly as planned. The second morning, I found a tent I hadn't seen the night before. It was 40 yards from my site, upslope, positioned in a clearing I'd walked directly through when I set up camp. The rainfly was staked correctly. The guy lines were tight. The vestibule was zipped closed from the outside. No one answered when I called out. I waited 11 minutes, counted them, before I opened the vestibule. The tent was empty, but the sleeping bag was unrolled across the pad, and there were 4 full water bottles standing in the corner, and a stuff sack with 3 days of food still sealed. I stepped back and called out again. The trees didn't even move. I checked the perimeter. No boot prints, except my own from that morning. No disturbed ground near the tent. No trace anyone had walked to or from it recently. But the tent hadn't been there. I would have seen it. I left a note inside the vestibule. Wanted to check you're okay. I'm camped below the ridgeline. Come find me if you need anything. And went back to my site. That's when I saw the orange flagging tape. It was tied to a branch at eye level, 20 feet past my tent, exactly where the trail continued north. Bright plastic surveyor's tape, the kind trail crews use for route planning. There hadn't been any tape when I came through. I followed it. The markers were spaced perfectly, 30 feet apart, each one tied at the same height, leading directly off trail into dense timber where no maintained path existed. I walked for 40 minutes. The tape continued without variation, same spacing, same height, same direction, pulling me deeper into woods I didn't recognize and couldn't place on my map. Then the tape stopped. No final marker. No sign. No indication why the trail of flags ended in the middle of unmarked forest with no destination. I turned around. When I got back to my camp, my pack had been opened. Not torn. Not dragged. Opened. The top buckle undone. The drawstring loose. The contents shifted just slightly to the left, like someone had looked inside and closed it carefully afterward. I hadn't opened it since I left. My food bag was still hanging in the tree. My stove was still where I'd placed it. Nothing was missing, but someone had been there. I checked the other tent again, still empty, still no sign of the person who'd set it up. I packed everything and started moving. The trail south was easy to follow. I'd come in that way 30 hours earlier and knew every turn. Except after 20 minutes, I hit a creek I hadn't crossed on the way in. I checked my map. No creek marked in this area. I adjusted and moved west, contouring around the drainage, looking for the ridgeline I knew would lead me back to the junction. I found the orange flagging tape instead. Same markers, same spacing, and same bright plastic tied at eye level. I hadn't looped back. I'd been walking in a straight line for half an hour. But the tape was there. I changed direction completely, pushing directly uphill, where I knew the ridge had to be. I walked for an hour and hit flat ground. In the middle of the flat ground was a tent. Same rainfly, same guy lines, same vestibule zipped from the outside. I don't know if it was the same tent, but it was positioned exactly the way the first one had been. And when I opened the vestibule, the sleeping bag was unrolled, and the water bottles were standing in the corner, and the food was still sealed. The note I'd left was gone. I backed away and checked my GPS. The coordinates placed me 400 yards northeast of my original campsite. I'd been walking for over 2 hours, and I should have been miles away by now. I started moving faster. Didn't follow trails, didn't check the map, just moved in a constant direction with the compass held in front of me, so I couldn't turn without knowing. 30 minutes later, I crossed my own boot prints. Fresh ones, from minutes earlier. The flagging tape was back. I followed my prints backward to see where I'd come from. They led in a neat arc through the timber and ended at another piece of orange tape, and the tape led to another. And I realized I'd been walking the perimeter of something, not a circle, a square. The markers weren't trail guides, they were borders. I checked the GPS again and marked my location, then walked for another hour, keeping the compass bearing exact. When I stopped and checked the new coordinates, they were less than 200 yards from the last point. I'd been walking a straight line. The distance didn't match. I tried again. Different direction, faster pace, no stops. The GPS track showed me crossing my own path 4 times in 40 minutes. I should have covered 2 miles. The coordinates said I'd walked in a shape that folded over itself without intersecting. That night, I didn't set up my tent. I sat with my back against a tree and kept my headlamp off and listened to the woods settle into silence so complete I could hear my pulse in my jaw. At some point, I closed my eyes. When I opened them, the sky was gray with pre-dawn light, and my water bottle was sitting next to me. I hadn't put it there. It had been inside my pack. I picked it up. It was full. I hadn't refilled it. The water was cold, fresh, tasting like creek source even though I'd emptied it the day before and hadn't been near water since. I stood up and turned in a slow circle. 40 feet away there was orange flagging tape tied to a branch I'd walked past in the dark. I checked my GPS and compared it to the previous day's track. I was standing inside the same 2-mile square I'd been walking for the last 48 hours. Every direction I'd tried, every straight line, every compass bearing, every deliberate attempt to break out of the area, had curved back without me feeling it turn. And something in those woods had opened my pack while I slept and refilled my water so I wouldn't get dehydrated, so I wouldn't need to leave. If you checked your GPS and discovered you'd been walking the same 2-mile square for 48 hours, and something in those woods had been refilling your water while you slept so you'd never have to leave, what direction do you walk when every direction has been exactly the same? That episode stays with me. Drop your answers in the comments. We read every single one. Some places don't let you leave until they're done with you. See you on the next episode.